Just a stone's throw from the Bronx, hidden in plain sight amidst the bustling energy of New York City, lies an island that's completely off-limit. You can see it, a patch of dense green floating on the East River, but you can't go there. This is North Brother Island, a place so restricted that most New Yorkers don't even know it exists. It looks like a peaceful nature preserve from a distance, a forgotten corner of the city. But this island holds a dark and fascinating history, one filled with stories of disease, isolation, and tragedy. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of America's most forbidden places. What secrets are being reclaimed by nature on this abandoned island? Let's find out. To understand why North Brother Island is forbidden, we have to travel back in time. In the late 1800s, New York City was a crowded, chaotic hub of immigration. With so many people arriving from all over the world, the threat of contagious diseases was a constant fear. The city needed a place to isolate the sick, far away from the healthy population. And what could be more isolated than an island? So, in 1885, Riverside Hospital was moved to North Brother Island, turning it into the city's primary quarantine facility. If you are diagnosed with something highly contagious like smallpox, tuberculosis, or yellow fever, this is where you were sent. Imagine being forcibly taken from your family and ferried across the river to this remote island, not knowing if you'd ever return. It was a place of fear and uncertainty, the last stop for many. The island became a self-contained community with a hospital, staff housing, a church, and even a morgue. For decades, it was the city's line of defense against deadly outbreaks. Of all the stories from North Brother Island, none is more famous than that of Mary Mallon, better known as Typhoid Mary. Mary was an Irish immigrant who worked as a cook for wealthy families in New York in the early 1900s. She was an asymptomatic carrier of typhoid fever, meaning she carried the bacteria and could spread it to others without ever feeling sick herself. Everywhere she worked, outbreaks of typhoid followed. After a lengthy investigation, health officials traced the disease back to her. But Mary refused to believe she was the cause. She couldn't understand how a perfectly healthy person could be spreading a deadly illness. After a dramatic confrontation, she was forcibly taken to North Brother Island in 1907. She was quarantined there for nearly 3 years before being released on the condition that she would never work as a cook again. But Mary struggled to find other work. Eventually, she changed her name and went back to cooking, leading to another major typhoid outbreak at a maternity hospital. This time, the authorities weren't so lenient. In 1915, Mary Mallon was sent back to North Brother Island, where she would remain for the rest of her life. She lived in a small cottage, isolated from the world, for over 23 years until her death in 1938. She became a symbol of the conflict between public health and individual liberty. Her story forever tied to the island's haunting legacy. But Typhoid Mary wasn't the only tragedy the island witnessed. On June 15th, 1904, one of New York's worst disasters unfolded just off its shores. A steamboat called the General Slocum was carrying over 1,300 people, mostly German immigrants from the Lower East Side, on their way to a church picnic. As it passed through the treacherous waters of Hell Gate in the East River, a fire broke out on board. The flames spread with terrifying speed. The ship was equipped with life preservers and fire hoses, but they were old and rotten. The life preservers disintegrated in people's hands, and the fire hoses burst under pressure. Panic erupted. The captain, trying to beach the vessel, steered it toward North Brother Island, but the headwind fanned the flames, turning the ship into a floating inferno. Many passengers, unable to swim, jumped into the river only to be pulled under by their heavy wool clothing. The staff and patients at Riverside Hospital watched in horror as the burning ship ran aground. They rushed to the shoreline, forming human chains to pull survivors from the water. Despite their heroic efforts, over 1,000 people, mostly women and children, lost their lives that day. The bodies washed ashore on North Brother Island 4 days afterward. It was the deadliest disaster in New York City's history until September 11th, and it left an indelible scar on the island's memory. After World War II, the need for a large-scale quarantine facility diminished, Thanks to advances in medicine like antibiotics, North Brother Island was given a new purpose. In the 1950s, it became a treatment center for teenage drug addicts. The program was experimental and aimed to help young people, some as young as 16, overcome heroin addiction. The teenagers were isolated on the island, away from the temptations of the city. The idea was to provide a safe, controlled environment where they could detox and receive therapy. But the reality was grim. The facility was underfunded and understaffed. Reports from the time describe a bleak, prison-like atmosphere. Many of the young patients felt like they had been abandoned and forgotten. They were locked in rooms during withdrawal, and stories of abuse and mistreatment were common. Ultimately, the program was deemed a failure. The relapse rates were incredibly high, and by 1963, the facility was shut down for good. The last boat left the island, and for the first time in nearly a century, North Brother Island was completely abandoned. Since its closure in 1963, North Brother Island has been left to the forces of nature, and nature has been relentless without any human intervention. The island is slowly being The hospital buildings, dormitories, and cottages are crumbling. Roofs have caved in, walls are covered in vines, and entire floors have collapsed. Trees grow through the middle of what were once hospital wards. Old medical equipment, rusted bed frames, and forgotten personal belongings lie scattered among the debris. Silent witnesses to the island's past. It's an eerie, post-apocalyptic scene, a real-life vision of what the world might look like without people. The island has become an unofficial bird sanctuary. It's one of the largest nesting grounds in the region for herons and other wading birds. This transformation is why the island is now so strictly protected. The New York City Department of Parks and Recreation manages the site as a wildlife preserve, and access is forbidden to protect the fragile ecosystem and the nesting bird colonies. The decaying structures are also extremely dangerous, making it unsafe for the public to visit. So, what does the future hold for North Brother Island? For years, there have been debates and proposals about what to do with it. Some have suggested turning it into a public park, preserving the historic ruins as a kind of open-air museum. Others have proposed more practical uses, like low-income housing or even a jail. But all of these ideas face major challenges. The cost of making the island safe, stabilizing the buildings, removing asbestos, and building modern infrastructure would be astronomical. Furthermore, any development would disrupt the sensitive bird habitat that has flourished there. For now, the city's official policy is to let it be, to let nature continue its slow, steady reclamation. It remains a forever wild preserve, a living laboratory for ecologists studying how nature takes over an urban environment. It's a place where the past is not just remembered, but physically present, slowly being swallowed by the green embrace of the forests. North Brother Island remains one of New York's most compelling mysteries. It's a place that holds the stories of thousands of people, the sick, the lonely, the tragic, and the forgotten. From a quarantine station to a shipwreck site, from a rehab center to a wildlife sanctuary. Its identity has shifted dramatically over the last 150 years. Today, it sits silently in the East River, a ghostly reminder of a history that the city has largely moved on from. While we can't set foot on its shores, its story serves as a powerful testament to the cycles of life, death, and renewal. It shows us that even in the heart of one of the world's greatest metropolises, there are wild, untouchable places where nature has the final say. Thanks for joining us on this journey to the Forbidden North Brother Island. What do you think should be done with this place? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this glimpse into a forgotten corner of history, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the unknown. See you next time!